Let us look at questions 13 to 16. So this is an interesting passage that talks about these two big statues that are there in the south of Egypt, right? Then it talks about how Greek and Roman tourists they visited these statues despite the fact that Egypt is not so near, right? Then also Greek and Roman tourists they visited these two big statues. So big statues are called colossi and they reinterpreted it according to their own culture, right? So they saw something else in these statues rather than their pharaonic roots, rather than seeing them as statues of pharaohs, right? Now, then the author goes on to explain that these visitors they were a diverse set and they came from throughout the Roman Empire, right? So this also gives us a sense of how big the Roman Empire was, right? So the author emphasizes that journeying to the southern extremity of the empire for many of these visitors was no small achievement. So there was a sense of achievement attached to visiting that far to Egypt, right? Then the author talks about the time, resources, and effort involved in it, right? However, the fact that you could expand your horizons by visiting to faraway places that was very attractive to travelers back then also. So a recent examination of the empire's vast territory, diverse peoples, and long history, it reveals that uh, the Roman Empire at that time was not an isolated empire. Rather, there were people who traveled from one place to another, making for a cosmopolitan ancient world, right? So then the author talks about how far the Roman Empire stretched its boundaries, right? And then the author also says that how these long distance journeys were made possible, even though at that point, time a long distance journey meant something that extends beyond 5 days. Right, that was their notion. So their notion of distance was much different from our notion of distance. Okay, but then also people traveled. So how was it made possible? Those journeys were enabled by the unprecedented political reality of the empire. By political reality, the author talks about Pax Romana, Roman peace. Right? So, the fact that peace existed during the Roman Empire, stability existed during the Roman Empire, that actually facilitated tourism at that time. So, if I have to summarize this passage for you, I think this is the best summary out here that the Roman Empire enabled traveling. How? By providing a sense of peace and sense of security. And this traveling is equivalent to our global tourism of the day, right? It offered so many things to people. It offered them adventure, it offered them novelty, it offered them opportunities. Okay, so let's look at the questions. Question 13, the main idea of this passage. What is the main idea? A says Roman Empire was the most powerful empire. At this point itself, this becomes doubtful because the passage does not say that it was the most powerful empire of ancient times. Extreme, right? Then, if I look at option D here, traveling was a difficult endeavor in ancient times, but the Roman Empire made it easier with its security and stability. It seems like a very close option to the main idea. Let's have a look at C. The Roman Empire made travel all over the world possible. Again, extreme. The author does not say that people traveled all over the world. They traveled throughout the empire that is given to us. So again, eliminated. B. The Roman Empire enabled an early version of global tourism that offered travelers adventure, novelty, and opportunity. This is also something that is very close to the main idea, right? So let's have a look at B versus D. Now, if you look at each paragraph here, I just summarized each paragraph for you. Do you realize that we are talking about how the Greek and Roman tourists they traveled to far away places in the Roman Empire, right? How it was not a small achievement for them, how it was a big achievement for them. It actually held a lot of charm for them. It provided them adventure, novelty, and opportunity. It made for a cosmopolitan, okay, ancient world. It made for a global world, so to say, right? Then we also talked about how far it stretched. We talk about its boundaries, that it stretched to such far away areas. And we talk about how people traveled to far away places. So this sense of, you know, traveling to faraway places, this cosmopolitan ancient world, this global tourism, this sense is pretty dominant throughout the passage, right? The fact about the sense of peace and stability, fine, yes, it is there. It is an enabler. Okay, it is there in the last paragraph, but that sense of global tourism not being a small achievement at that time, offering adventure, people having this feeling this sense of achievement, people having charm for global travel, right? And risking time, resources, effort just to experience this, to expand their horizons. That is something that is dominant in the passage. So if you compare B with D, B becomes a better answer because it also shows that how it also says that the Roman Empire was the enabler. So it covers that last paragraph also. Then it also covers the remaining paragraph, an early version of global tourism that offered travelers adventure, novelty, and opportunity. So B is a better choice, even though D may look like the correct answer in the first glance. Okay, hence B. Okay, 14th. Which of the following cannot be inferred from the information provided in the passage? So, what can't be inferred? Three of them probably then can be inferred, isn't it? A. The 2-century long Roman peace helped expand the scope of traveling in the Roman Empire, stated in the last paragraph. So, definitely can be inferred. The ancients perceived distance differently than we do, stated in the second last paragraph, and therefore can be inferred. Culture has an impact on the way we interpret historical objects, can be inferred from the second paragraph. First slide, second para. So basically, the Romans and Greek tourists, they overlooked the pharaonic roots of the colossi, of those two statues. They interpreted them differently, right? So culture has an impact. They interpreted them according to their own culture. Again, three are stated, so D is the answer. The Roman Empire consisted of cloistered, which means secluded, and static. So that means no progress, no activity happening there. So did it consist of cloistered communities? The author has refuted this. The author has said that we now have evidence of a cosmopolitan ancient world. It was not a secluded world, it was rather a global cosmopolitan ancient world, right? So this was an earlier notion. This notion has been appended. This earlier notion that it consisted of isolated immobile communities has been appended by modern scholarship. Appended means refuted. Okay? Turned upside down. That's the literal meaning. So our answer is option D. 15th. Based on the passage, it can be inferred that the visitor's attitude when they wrote, I have heard Memnon, was most likely to be. So, see this. For them, it was not a small achievement. Remember this. This is stated in the passage. It was a big achievement for them. So, their attitude when they finally get it engraved is that of, okay, been there, done that, right? It's an attitude of achievement. It's an attitude of exaltation. So, it's not indifferent for sure. So you need to know the meanings of these words to attempt this question. It's not indifferent for sure. Tendentious, it means something that is controversial. So that is tendentious. So certainly their attitude would not be tendentious, right? Scandalous, no, so scandalous would be a synonym. No, it was not scandalous. Joyful disbelief. This is what we are left with. So yes, there can be a sense of disbelief that, oh, finally I've achieved this. But look at what the passage says. Look at what the passage says right after this paragraph of I have heard Memnon. So right after this paragraph, the passage says, journeying to the southern extremity of the empire, to Egypt, for many of these visitors was not a small achievement. It was a big achievement for them, right? Something that held a lot of charm for them. So their attitude is more likely to be of joy, of exaltation, rather than of disbelief, right? Hence A. Okay. All of the following are true as per the passage except. So what is not true? The journey across the Roman Empire was impacted by the political situation of the time. Yes, of course. We are talking about Roman peace in the last paragraph. A number of visitors engraved some variation of I have heard Memnon under the statue of the pharaoh Amenhotep III. Let's read this. So the author tells us that they have been engraved. They were not merely scratched onto the rock, but engraved by professional stone cutters. So The tourists themselves did not engrave them, stone cutters engraved them. That makes B incorrect, doesn't it? So that means B is most likely the answer. Let's look at C and D also. Greek and Roman visitors tended to reinterpret the Colossi through the lens of their own culture. Yes, they looked at them as statues of Memnon and Eos, okay, where Eos was the mother of Memnon, right? So, yes, this is true, and therefore these two can be clearly eliminated. D says a number of visitors to the statue of the pharaoh Amenhotep III knew Latin or Greek. Now, this is likely. This is quite likely. Let's go to the second paragraph again. These were Greek and Roman tourists. These were Greek and Roman tourists. So it makes it likely that they knew their languages, right? Also, they instructed the stone cutters, right? The stone cutters would not themselves engrave this variation of I have heard Memnon on their behalf, right? They would instruct them. So they would instruct them in their language. Again, that's quite likely. And that's why those inscriptions are in Greek and Latin. So it's quite likely that these visitors knew Greek and Roman language, Greek and Latin, right? And therefore, if I have to choose between B and D, I will clearly choose B because it's written that visitors engraved this, whereas my passage says that stonecutters engraved it, right? Hence B. Hope this is clear to you.